Take it easy and solve the school lunch problem with SPAM. S-P-A-M.
こんにちは、タイガークローラジオ。You are listening now. Back J.
You are listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Number one in vintage computer and video game entertainment. And now your host, Critical Failure.
Welcome everyone to Tiger Claw Radio. My goodness, it's been a good week. Cold weather gave way to rainy weather. We got some awesome video games to discuss. And Doobie Douglas. Doobie Douglas's Otaku Quest, which is available for free on Business Casual Records, but I ordered the cassette tape today. So we're going to hear a couple of tracks off of Otaku Quest because I'm super jazzed about this album, everybody. All right. We're going to start with Otaku Quest, and when we come back, it's the Vancast. You guys are listening to Tiger Claw Radio. That's the lead-off track. You hear that abrupt cut? This is one of those where the songs kind of blend into each other. Unfortunately, all of the song titles are in Japanese. They do that cute little thing they do in the vaporwave community where they feed all the track titles through Google Translate. I don't know why they do that. But that's the first track, and the reason I played that one is because I wanted you guys to hear the same track that got me to fall in love with this album. See, that's one of 10. It is a 10-song album. How long does this thing run? I want to get a running time. Now bear with me because I know this is delaying the first Vancast, but I want to get a running time on this thing. 29 minutes, all right? Not too bad. That means shorter songs, I guess, than the Motion Epic, which is the other cassette I bought from Business Casual, but roughly about the same running time overall. All right, boys and girls, on this first Vancast, I'm going to geek out about Dead by Daylight a little bit, I'm not going to lie. And I also went into being introduced to the world of Discord pubbing. All that and more. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Stick with me. Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday morning. It's the Vancast. First Vancast of the week. My goodness, it's rainy outside right now. Yesterday we had freezing rain. And now it's not freezing. It's just cold. Got up, scraped off my car. And then now I'm off to work. 6:30 in the morning. I don't know what the temperature is like outside. But the rain, I think, makes it feel colder than it actually is. It's been an interesting weekend. Over the weekend, I had a day to play games, which is pretty awesome. And I put some time into Dead by Daylight. But this was the first time I went to Discord, and I joined a few Discords, and I started playing, getting involved with the matchmaking lobbies that are in Discord, talking to the people and whatnot. And it went pretty well. I was able to play some Quake that way. There's several groups that play Quake. So that was awesome to be able to chat with a few people who still play and get in and throw down in some old school deathmatch. It was a lot of fun. It was the first time I'd played any Quake deathmatch since MagFest, right? So that felt good. Didn't get to play that for long because that came at a time which it was like, all right, I'm in, and now I'm playing, and now I got stuff to do in about 30 minutes. So that was fun for a little while. And then playing Dead by Daylight using voice chat with the other survivors was kind of revolutionized the way I'm going to play that game from here out. Because I don't know if it's the official Discord or not, but there's a very widely used Discord with thousands of members. And they have it set up so that there's a looking for group channel, and then there's like 20 different little voice channels, and each one of the voice channels has a max of 4 users, right? And the idea is if you walk into one, then you're in that group. So it was nice to be able to be like, hey boys, or like, yeah man, what's that person we just met 2 seconds ago? You're in our game now, right? Yeah, add this person and then you're in. It's pretty cool. It's more akin to what you would find playing Counter-Strike, primarily because we were using an outside tool to communicate, so it was totally unmoderated. There was no what do you call it? Yeah, we could say whatever we wanted to each other, which was pretty fun. It was pretty fun to have the filter off, you know? Give me a second here. Yeah, so that's exactly the way it was. We played without the filter on. We got to joke and have a good time. I won a lot more. I think I escaped probably like 4 or 5 times. It's usually the win rate as a survivor in Dead by Daylight for me is really low. I have a hard time getting out these days. But being able to communicate with the other survivors is huge. And I think it's a problem with the gameplay. People have gone back and forth about this a little bit. It's like, hey, there should be some sort of proximity chat, right? It's not fair to be able to voice chat with a survivor who's on the other side of the map. Yeah, well, I agree, but it's even more not fair for me to be standing right in front of another survivor. He's facing me, I'm facing him. We're using we're using the 2 hand gestures we're given trying to get each other's attention, and we just can't communicate. And as far as I'm concerned, that's more unfair. So until they fix this with Dead by Daylight, which I don't think they'll ever do, I'm going to stick to Discord, and I'm going to keep getting involved with voice chat lobbies. I don't think I'll ever play the game again without it, unless I'm playing as the killer. I had a really bad run as the killer just before this all went down too, and it was so bad. I was like, do I really want to keep playing this game? I had one guy who was using a flashlight, who was really good with the flashlight, and it was like not hiding. He's like running around trying to get my attention, trying to get me to follow him. It reached a point where I was just ignoring him. Because as long as he's doing that, trying to get my attention, he's not working on generators. I don't know. So that's my little geek out about Dead by Daylight. I'm pushing 80 hours in that game now, so it looks like it's on its way to being in the 100-hour club. Along with games like The Sims 3 and Gary's Mod and Counter-Strike Global Offensive and Terraria and the original Quake. All games in the 100-hour club. 100 hours of gameplay. So not bad. Not bad. I paid $10 for it. I was gifted Mike Myers, which I believe is like $6, and then I bought the Saw DLC on sale, which is about $5. So we're gonna say $21 have been spent on my copy at 80 hours of gameplay. Yeah, man, I say I got my money's worth. I'm still having fun with it. My goodness, the models look like garbage, though. All right. That's enough about Dead by Daylight. I caught Alex Swingle this morning on, and we joined the Hangout. And rather than spend my 1 hour playing video games, as I often do, I just hung out with Alex, which is pretty cool. We were talking about the Move a little bit. You guys who know him know he has been playing the PlayStation Move, right, on his PS3. And he's been talking about rail shooters and whatnot, which is pretty cool, right? Because I think some of the classic consoles have a hard time doing rail shooters. But when it's up and running, it's a lot of fun, right? Trying to play like House of the Dead on the original Xbox. Oh yeah, you can absolutely do it. There's a gun you can get, and you put little sensors on the TV and stuff. But you gotta round up the hardware, right, to really make it worth it. And you have to have, I believe, you have to have a CRT for that. So it's been sounding cool, but up until this point, whenever he would talk about the Move, for whatever reason, I always thought he was talking about the PS4, and I don't know why, because he said PS3 over and over again. Get the PS3, get the games now while they're super cheap. Hey, you can get PS3 games for really cheap. They're the cheapest games you can get on the market right now. And for whatever reason this morning it kind of snapped, and I was like, oh yeah, I could get one of those too. I have a PS3. So I looked up the Move, and I just did some checking around. Now, mind you, again, this was 5 in the morning, and I sat down and started talking to him. So there's a danger. It's like, don't make any big purchase decisions at 5 in the morning, right? You need to be able to count to 30 without losing track of your numbers before you make a big purchase decision. But the idea of playing some hot new rail shooters sounded fun. I'm looking into it a little bit. Now that it's 6:39, it's like an hour and a half ago we had this discussion. I'm not so sure. I'm more inclined to round up Guitar Hero hardware and play Guitar Hero with my children. But he sold me on the idea of it being awesome. I think if circumstances were different, I would definitely pay the entry fee to be able to play some cool rail shooters again. You know, I think that might be fun. Alright, give me a second here. It's raining outside, so as dangerous as it typically is, it's double dangerous right now. It's raining and it's still cold. My goodness, my fingers holding this phone are just freezing. For safety's sake, I think it's time to start winding this Vancast down. But let's talk about what I would do if I were back home. If I were back home, I'd probably pop open Discord and see where the people are. The Quake servers don't always have people in them, so I usually pop in and check those first. But I got a taste for Quake again, so it might be fun to load that up and play it a little bit. If not Quake, then I don't know. I played a lot of Dead by Daylight recently. I might be ready to move on to something else. But yeah, maybe it will be Quake. I saw some videos of myself that I made late last year or a while back when I was playing Quake, and I had like the face cam on, but it's before I bought the webcam I have now, and I hadn't lost all the weight yet. So I was looking at like 2017 CF plus 40 pounds, and it's kind of hard to watch. So part of me wants to make a couple more Quake videos now that I don't look like a Cookie Monster. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Maybe not. But that's what I would do if I were back home again. I'm so tired at this point. I can't even imagine myself playing games. When I think of myself back home right now, I just turning on the stereo, listening to some music and chilling out in my chair. I got a bunch of cassette tapes last week that I talked about. This was like a week and a half ago now. And I barely had the chance to listen to them just because I've been so busy. So that probably, realistically, would be what I would like to do. Just listen to my cassette tapes and just chill out under a blanket and fall asleep in my office chair. Yeah, it sounds like it'd be fun. Alright, boys. Time for me to go do my Tuesday at work. I hope you guys are having a good one. I'll see you back in the studio where all the fun stuff is. And let me tell you guys, I'm surrounded by quote-unquote the fun stuff. It has been the fun stuff kind of day. Tore apart my stereo so that I could rebuild it a little bit better. And so I got to get out the wire strippers, and I got my MIDI keyboard in front of me. Nothing's open to use it on, but what else I got here? I'm surrounded by all of the things that I wish I was around when I'm driving to work recording one of those things. Stacks and stacks of cassette tapes. That's a big thing for me right now. Oh man, and I got some, what is this, Butterscotch Blondie? Butterscotch Blondie tea, which has taken the place of my black coffee. And I'm just having a good old time. Let's see. So we're going to hear another track from Doobie Douglas's Otaku Quest. But first, I wanted to just take a minute to thank the patrons. These are the sponsors on Patreon who are giving of their resources to make sure Tiger Claw Radio can come back every single week, no matter what. And they are Hemrock, James, Sendu, Tecmo Balls, and Durabka. Thank you guys so very much for supporting the show. It really is making ripples through the rest of my life in a good way. So thanks for that. All right. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio.
Means
I'm so excited for that tape to show up, guys. I'm rewiring my stereo for this tape to show up. It's gonna be dope. Taking the word dope and turn it into 2 syllables. All right, we've got only one more Vancast for the week, but it's a deluxe Vancast, and I went over quite a lot of stuff, particularly the game whose name I couldn't remember to save my life. But don't worry, keep listening. I did eventually come up with it. It's quite an interesting story, and I'll say this much. This is a Vancast like none I've ever done before. Yeah, that's right. I've been doing these for over a year now. They've been a staple of the show. More than that, geez Louise. Probably the entire time I've been doing TCR since the reboot in the 170s. Yeah, this is one like no other. So stick around. Good morning, everybody. It's that time once again. That's right. It's the Vancast. It is a nice, frosty Thursday morning. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. It's December 14th. December 14th. Wow. February 14th. Tell you what, though, it feels like December right now. We had a few mild days in the middle of the week, and now we're back to really cold again. All right. I don't like having it show up in the recording, but I gotta crank up the blower so that it clears the windshield. Windshield frosting over again and again and again. We got this. Hang on. A little bit of that. There we go. There we go. Are we up and running now? I think so. Nope. No, we're not. I'm just going to pull over by the side of the road for a minute. Let it kind of thaw out. So today's Valentine's Day, and it's also my daughter's birthday. She turns 5 today, which is pretty cool, man. It's pretty exciting. Man, I wanted to stay home, but couldn't quite get out of work. Couldn't quite make it happen. It's one of those, we need you at the office. We need stuff done today. That's it, man. Responsibilities, they stack up. Sometimes you just can't get out of it. In the video game world, a lot going on. Everybody's going crazy about this game, Apex Legends. And I'm not really moved, I gotta say. And I wanted to talk a little bit about why. Now, you guys know me. I'm not usually the guy to cover games that, hey, we're going to talk about the games that just came out. This one just came out, everybody. We're going to talk about Assassin's Creed Billy Bop. Woo! Brand new, everybody. Hot off the presses. Get your $60 ready. Apex Legends, of course, is a free-to-play game. So that's not quite applicable, but that's not the only reason I don't talk about newly released games. And I think Apex Legends is a perfect example of one of the big things that turned me off about new games just coming out. So in the late 90s, when I first got into punk rock, and I started listening to like bands that were off the beaten path that I hadn't heard of before, bands like the Nobodies and Mustard Plug and stuff like that. 88 Fingers Louie and Rancid and all that stuff. I remember looking back at what was on the radio and like the popular bands and thinking, look how sanitized they are. There's no flavor here. These people aren't creating anything. There's no beauty. Like, where is it? And when I look at Apex Legends, that's what I think. This is like a perfectly sanitized mixture of Overwatch and all its, angles, because they think gamers like angles. They took Overwatch and they mixed it with Fortnite. 2 games, by the way, that I think both deserve to be in the garbage can. And now you got a mixture of the two, and it's free to play. Woo! Sign me up! And I've been emailed by a couple people. Hey man, you gonna give this Apex Legends a try? I don't know. I'm not gonna lie, I might try it. I've been wrong about games before, and it's free. I would definitely not touch it if it costs money. I'm hoping that the games industry is wisening up a little bit and realizing that if you have a game like Counter-Strike Global Offensive or PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, where cosmetic items are being sold, there's no reason to charge for the game. Stop charging for the game if you're going to make a ton of money hand over fist over cosmetic items. So I'm hoping that that might be the case. But I look at this game, man, and I just don't see a single thing that appeals to me. Which is funny because it's like a first-person shooter. It's first-person, right? Is this game first-person? I don't even know. I think so. First-person shooters have always been my thing. At least the classic ones. So, we'll see. Of course, I could be wrong. I never much liked the idea of Overwatch, but if it was free, I probably would have tried it by now. I'm not going to lie, there have been a couple moments where I thought about it. But that's Apex Legends. And I bring it up not because of the press, because you can clearly buy press, but you can buy press and you can buy good reviews and all that stuff. But the human beings that I talk to keep bringing it up. I've been playing on Discord a lot over the past couple weeks or so, and people on Discord have brought it up more than once, just casually talking and playing. And that's really the buzz that gets me, is when the humans start communicating, and then my attention is piqued. So, of you few out there who are listening, what's your opinion of this Apex Legends game? Am I alone in this and thinking it goes right in the trash can? It's the meteoric rise. Excuse me. One of the things I see kids do to measure how popular a game is they go on Twitch and they look at how many people are streaming the games, or how many people are watching the games, or whatever metric Twitch gives you. I think it's watching, right? How many people are watching? And the amount of people who sit and watch Apex Legends has far surpassed Fortnite and whatnot. Dr. Disrespect plays Apex Legends now. So I guess that's the metric they use. It seems very faulty to me. I mean, maybe it's a good metric for popularity, but for how good a game is, nah. A popular game doesn't always equal a good game in my mind, but this is what the kids are doing. I think it's just as much of a mistake to think the kids are wrong just because they're younger. That's the common folly of the old man. All right. So here's a mistake I made this morning. I printed up a list. I was like, all right, there's like 5 things I want to go over this morning during the Vancast. So I wrote them down in a notepad on my computer, and I printed them out, and now I have them here. But I don't have a hand free to reach over and look at it because I'm driving. I'm seeing a flaw in my plan. I would have to actually pull over to the side of the road. No, we're going to do this a different way. There's a red light a couple of minutes down the road, so we're going to see if we can hang on until the red light. And then we're going to look at the sheet of paper. See what else I had to go over. Talked to Jarabka just a few seconds before bed last night. I caught him on Steam just as I was getting off. And he's telling me he was playing Drakensang, CD-based German game, which I also have in my Steam library. So I went to look at this Drakensang game. Check it out. It looks pretty cool, but I've been getting it confused. Every time he says the word, I in my head, I see a completely different game. And the game I see is a real game. It's much, much older. It's also sold on Steam, but this is one of those games from like the MS-DOS era that was repackaged and redistributed on Steam. Like a Night Dive Studios game. Alright, so give me a second here. Oh wow, yeah, still not at the red light. That's a ways away. I looked it up this morning. I was like, ha! That's the name of the game that I thought it was. And I wrote it down. And now I can't look at the list. And I've already forgotten what it is again. And now I'm driving through the woods in like a skinny single lane road. There's no way I'm looking at this list. I'd be risking my life. That's alright, we'll hang on. We'll wing it until then. Great box art this game has. Let's see if we can play tip of my joystick. That's where you try and guess the game based on what I remember. I loaded it up last night and I was playing it. Because it's, MS-DOS game, so it's a really quick install. You're looking at 20, 30, maybe 40 megabytes. And it was mostly a choose-your-own-adventure type game. Here's some text, and you pick what you want to do. And then, set in medieval times. Medieval RPG, right? You have you got a party of 4 people, and they're equipped with, like, maces and swords and stuff. But it's mostly choose-your-own-adventure up until you leave the castle, which is where you start. And then once you leave the castle, it's like a top-down world map sort of thing. And in the world map, eventually, you can get into battles that play out more like a strategy game, where there's a battle map, and you have 4 or 5 characters, or however many characters on the board. And then there's monsters. It's kind of like a tactics-based sort of deal. And it's called Dark Something. I wrote it down before I left the house. The box art of this game is really cool. It's just like a party just of people just slashing away at goodness knows what. It's really cool artwork. Simple. I mean, it's nothing. It's not like it's a super clever design. It's just I remember looking at it and it capturing my attention. So, Sean, your interest in Drakensang has drawn my attention to this completely unrelated game that has a name that just sort of sounds like it. So thanks for that. Alright, how are we doing? So I looked at that last night. This morning I played River City Ransom Underground, which is an awesome game. I grew up playing River City Ransom on the Nintendo. It was one of my favorite games growing up, and it remains one of my all-time favorites. Excuse me, one of my all-time favorites. For many years, I would tell you my all-time favorite games are a tie between River City Ransom on the NES and Wizardry 5 on the SNES. I finally admitted to myself that Quake is my favorite game of all time. Quake is the #1 slot, and then those two are tied for second. So River City Ransom is a game that runs deep, man. There was a guy from the church who was friends with my older brother when we were kids. I was probably in 2nd grade, 1st or 2nd grade, and my brother's 3 years older than me, so 4th, 5th grade. So, this kid he was friends with, I remember we were driving home. My parents were driving us home. Me, my brothers, and this kid, driving him back to his place after hanging out. Play dates like you do when you're kids. And he was explaining this game that he had, River City Ransom. And he was like, you can fight, you can beat people up, you can take their money, And and then he tried to describe the factory scene. He's like, there's this place where there's a wall, and you can punch through the wall, and you can hit things through the wall, but if you can't run into the wall or you'll fall over. And I remember even as a kid, in first or second grade, being like, what? That doesn't make any sense. But he loaned us his copy. And man, it was a good game. Even as a kid, I was like, oh, this game stands out amongst the rest. So that's the original River City Ransom. It was also the first game I ever owned, which I got a hold of. One of my friends loaned me their copy and then moved away. And like, I had every intention of returning it. And it's not like I had it for a disproportionately long amount of time either. He loaned it to me, and then like 2 weeks later, he was gone. That kid's name was Edwin. I don't know where he is now. I haven't seen him for 20 plus years. Hope he's alright though. Did we just pass the red light? I think I just passed by the red light, and I think it was green. And so I didn't get the chance to look at the handout. Alright boys. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to put the phone down for a half second. Then I'm going to pick up the list and look at it. Then I'll put the list back down and pick up the phone. Therefore, I can figure out what this game is called. And I don't have to worry about crashing the car. That's the plan. Alright. Putting the phone down. Phone is down. I got the list. Turning on the light so I can see it. Got it. All right. Now I'm working on picking up the phone again. The name of the game is Darklands. Darklands, and it's presented as one word. I don't know how I got Darklands confused with Drakensang, but I know if you type in the word dark in my Steam library and you just search what I have that has dark in the word, I get like 30 games. So even then I had to like sort through them and find the one. So I gave Darklands a spin last night. And jury's still out if I think it's good or not, but I can tell you the box art is amazing. I can tell you it's piqued my interest. And I'm going to sit down with it again in the near future. Alright, I want to check this list one more time. Still here. Still here. Was that everything? One thing I wrote was talking about watching Zelda on Twitch. I'm not much into Twitch. I have a little Twitch channel if you guys want to follow it. I like the idea of streaming, but it's very difficult for me to find time, so I can't like regular stream. But occasionally I drift in and I watch stuff. More recently, because I got this new phone that I got this past Christmas, so there's more space for apps. So I put the Twitch app on my phone, and I got it hooked up on my computer again, got the desktop app. So this morning I was looking around, and I found amongst the games, because the way I browse on Twitch is let's look at what games are being streamed, right? And then if I see a game that I want to watch, then I'll see who's streaming it. And that's the logical order of, hey, let's go find a stream. So amongst the games, there was one simply marked retro. Like all the retro games were kind of lumped in to let's watch retro games. And you know what? I kind of like, it sounds on paper not great, but I kind of liked it because there weren't that many of them that were doing it. Comparatively speaking, like the Twitch crowd is a much, much younger crowd, guys. I'm 34 years old. Not too many 34-year-olds plus watching on Twitch. Some of us, but usually when guys like me are watching Twitch, it's because one of my friends or somebody I'm interested in specifically is on Twitch. Like I'll catch the Cartridge Brothers if I can. If I catch them on Twitch, then I'll jump in and watch.
or something like The Gaming Beast, good old Darabka. He did some experimenting with Twitch recently. If I could catch him on, I would watch him as well. But it's very rare to be just running around checking stuff out. But on the other hand, it's such a big platform. I want to see what's there. I want to do some looking and experience it a little. Salty Bet is awesome. You guys know Salty Bet? I liked Mugen a lot when I was very young. I remember Mugen back when the MS-DOS version was like the premium version. And I remember, funny thing about Mugen, I would play with Mugen for like 15 minutes and then spend 3 hours going to try to find new parts to plug into my Mugen build. Which I suspect I'm not the only one who did it that way. But the internet was a different place back in those days, back when Mugen was like just coming out. Nowadays, when you're surfing around on the internet, there's usually like a small group of sites that we look at for things. You know what I mean? You find content on these major powerhouse sites. For example, like YouTube. YouTube has got all the videos. If you want to watch a video, you're probably going to YouTube. There's exceptions to the rule. There's other sites out there, but that's probably where you're going. If this was the internet in 1998, then you probably would be going to 10 other sites. YouTube would be one bookmark amongst a whole lot of bookmarks that you would go to find whatever videos you wanted to watch. So again, much less a time for central repositories, much more let's go to all the small sites and see what they have, right? That's the way it was. So Mugen was a lot like that as well. You would go to 100 different Mugen fan sites looking for not just the characters they had, but the characters that were compatible with your particular version. I remember doing that quite a bit. Quite a bit, man. So when I watched Salty Bet, it kind of reminded me of those days, especially since there were a lot of characters that you couldn't fight against. They made the AI too hard. That's one thing that's like a staple of Mugen, is like incredibly unbalanced AI, right? Because every character has its own AI set, and some of them are built with just supreme difficulty, and some of them aren't. So I would play Mugen until I hit one of those guys, and then the game would be over. And a lot of times I would lose interest in that moment. But Salty Bet kind of is what we would do to get around it. In the old days, we would just make the two fight each other and watch, and not really do the playing. So Salty Bet's kind of built around that notion. They had a live Salty Bet event at MagFest last year, but it was in the middle of the night, so I didn't get to go because I was really tired. So that's Twitch. And I guess that's about it. This has been a long Vancast, hasn't it? 22 minutes, jeez Louise. I'm not even done yet either. I was going to talk about some of the crazy stuff that happened on Discord last night. Last night was a weird night for Discord. I got in with a weird group. They were cool people, man, but not what I would typically expect of like the Discord crowd. But that'll wait for another day. All right, boys and girls. Oh yeah, what would I do if I were back home right now? I don't know. Probably play. Oh, you know what's funny? The game I was talking about earlier, Dark something, I've already forgot what it's called. I've already forgot. Oh, they did a really bad job naming their game because I keep forgetting what it's called. Well, that game, that's what I would play. Because I can play that with no sound. So I would play that perfect game for me right now. Fire up the tape deck. Play some of the tapes that I got at my last thrift store run, and I would play this game. That's what I would do if I had no responsibilities and nobody else was home. The reality is, today's my daughter's birthday, and I would go jam out with my daughter all day. just, play Let's Pretend, do some coloring, hang out while she opens the presents and everything. That's what I really want to do. But, you know what? Instead, I'm going to go earn a living for her. And that's okay. Well, I'll see you guys back in the studio. I'm going to go do my day at work, and then I'm going to go party with my kids.
And back we are. I did actually get the chance to party with my kids this evening. So that's a dream that came true. I hung out and watched Chippy's Couch with my son, which we do for a few minutes every night, just him and me. I got to hang out with my daughter, although my daughter's been busy with her cousin. She's got a cousin over, so those two are running around, just having an awesome time being kids. She's 5 now. My goodness. I've got a 9-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl, and a new baby on the way. My family just went. Feels like even before the baby got here, it feels like we've gotten a lot bigger. But it's been really awesome. My son and I sat down to play some Magic the Gathering tonight. And usually when I play Magic the Gathering, I let him win because he's 9. You know what I mean? But we were playing this game, and it was, it was going on for a half an hour, and I told him, look. Oh boy, I just said his real name. Oops. So I was like, look, man, I got to bring it into this game. So don't be mad at me. And he was like, it's okay. And I'm like, all right, this is going to be the last turn. So why don't you just look through your deck and any card that you pick out, any card you want, that's going to be the card you draw this turn. And he's like, okay. I thought he was going to pick like a big monster, and I was just going to counter it, or not counter it, but I was just going to swoop in and get him the next turn anyway. He makes a smart move. He plays something that's going to gain him life. So he ended up working some angle and getting like 14 life in a single turn. It wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. I brought the hammer down the next turn, and that was it. I had two flyers that were sizable, and of course none of his guys were flyers because he constructed his deck himself, and he's 9. They dealt him a bunch of damage, and then I cast Thud and killed one of my monsters to finish him off. Now, he hasn't lost a game in a long time. He's probably going 9 for 10 now. So I thought it would be okay, but yeah, he had a real hard time with it. So I feel kind of bad. So I'm gonna have to talk him into playing again tomorrow because I know he's not gonna want to. I'll have to talk him into playing. Then once he plays, I'm going to have to let him win. Oh, no. Old dad doesn't have the cards. I can't make it happen, kiddo. What am I going to do? I guess you win this one. You know, dad stuff. All right. So let's talk about last week's podcast and podcasting in general as it relates to TCR. I have the old... Oh, I got one marked as likely spam. Let's read that one first. And that is adding games to your Sega Flashback is free, easy, and awesome. Check this out. And he's got a YouTube link. And I actually want to see this. And the YouTube link says video unavailable. Sorry, man. Let's see. The problem is like, okay, publish comments. All right, let's see what YouTube actually let through. So we got one from we got some from Mecha Menace who writes, "Yes, thumbnail spot on. I'm listening now with all the good feels." I'm glad you caught that, man, because I did that for you. He's talking about Rystar skiing down a hill because I didn't really play much Rystar. I tried it once, like on a ROM, because I remember somebody talking about it online. But I didn't grow up with that game. I don't remember Rystar from when I was a kid, from when the Sega Genesis was new. That was just one of those games because there was thousands of games, and some of them, of course, we just couldn't play, right? Nobody came across my lexicon who had owned it or knew about it, so I didn't know about that game until the age of video reviews on YouTube, which, that's just fine. So, yeah, so that one's for you, good buddy. Excuse me. Now, he also writes... through the long intro of the opening track, I was waiting for a syrupy singer to ease me in, or host of smooth jazz to announce the station's call letters. Holy crap. Does it mark of that 80s jazz? Ha! I wouldn't classify it as vaporwave or synthwave. I'm pretty sure those two waves are the same, right? You know what? I'm going to be honest. I have to go back and listen to what track that was, so bear with me. Oh, yes. That was So Hot, the So Hot album from Trademarks and Copyrights. I would consider that vaporwave, at least somewhat. Vaporwave inspired. You can tell because the smooth jazz, that's very slowed down. So it's got a very deeper than his natural voice. That's like a trademark of vaporwave. Now, it doesn't have the looping vaporwave is really known for. I mean, that's what people really listen for the most part, is the looping and the samples. But I don't know. I would call it that. What was the... Okay, I gotta be careful because I'm entering the part where like I'm really tired and my brain is too sleepy to read, but I'm trying to do it anyway. So this is where I tend to make mistakes when reading comments. So what'd you say? You wouldn't classify it as vaporwave or synthwave, and you're pretty sure those two are the same. I would clarify those two. Like vaporwave would be more like lots of loops, lots of samples, lots of slowed down vocals, like that. And synthwave would just be like new wave music, composed in like a digital audio workstation, like maybe a pirated copy of FL Studio. And primarily new or primarily original loops, right? So you won't hear a lot of listening to synthwave. If you don't hear anything that you recognize, you can qualify it as synthwave. At least that's off the top of my head. That's how I distinguish the two. I mean, that's a really good question because I listen to a piece of music and I file it in one of those two categories, and I couldn't quite tell you what it is that causes that or how to define those two. So you're asking some good questions there, man. Or maybe I'm just reading too deeply into a comment. Excuse me. We got one from Desm101 who writes in at 55 minutes and 20 seconds in. When you get to 100K, the paddles will... Okay, he's talking about... Excuse me. Desm, sorry to interrupt. He's talking about pinball on the NES. We talked about this last week and some of the problems that Hemrock ran into when competing for the Tiger score. He writes, when you get to 100,000, the paddles will disappear until the score reaches 150,000, and then they'll reappear. It did happen to me too. I think it's to make it harder to reach the very high scores. That is weird. I hope that isn't on purpose. You know what, Desm? I have the Famicom version of pinball. I feel obliged to get to 100,000, in the Famicom version, and see if the same thing happens. Because you know how some, like, because of the rental market, some games when they came to America were more difficult. I wonder if that's a regional thing. There's only really one way to find out, and that's to suddenly get good at pinball for the NES. But you never know; it could happen. I would say I have an unfair advantage if it turns out it doesn't happen on the Japanese game. But I'll give it a shot and report back. Desm and Mechamenis, guys, thanks for writing in. These were the only comments that I see published on last week's episode. I got a couple from oldies we'll take a look at. What episode is this now? Gaming Beast writes in about 250, episode 250, which was Magfest and more. And he writes, super late reply, open bore continues at, and he gives a URL. Open bore was like, okay, Streets of Rage. There was a clone of Streets of Rage called Beats of Rage. Beats of Rage was more of an engine than a single game. People would take it and turn it into other games, kind of like they did with Doom. So Open Bore was like an open Beats of Rage engine for making Streets of Rage clones. That's what he's talking about. And apparently, it's still a thriving scene where you can go download Open Bore games. To name a couple, I had I had one called Rhythm of Destruction, which was just a palette swapping generic romp, but it was fun. I had that on my Dreamcast. And I also had one that was completely themed around Sailor Moon, which was also a Beats of Rage game. There's just a couple that I have, and there's way more than those two, but that's Beats of Rage. And if you like those beat 'em up, side-scrolling Streets of Rage type games, then it's worth your time. And I'm looking at the forum that he painted now, and I'm wondering if I could find any other awesome free PC games on this forum. So I will bookmark that, and thank you, Darabka. My man, always good to hear from you. I hope you're doing okay. And I look forward to your reply to this comment in a few months, because this episode is definitely from the beginning of September. All right, and I think we heard from Sendu as well, right? Got a couple random questions or random comments from just standard videos I made over the years. Somebody left a comment on my MS-DOS word processors video, and he said, if you're interested in old DOS software for integrated suites, multiple files of spreadsheet, word processing, telecommunications, etc., and all in a desktop with Windows-like interface, try Ashton Tate's Framework 234, which predates Windows by a decade. And that's from Al Burt. So Al, my man, thanks for the comment. I've never heard of Ashton Tate's Framework, but I love it when these old DOS guys come into my DOS videos and they spread some of that knowledge. It's one of my favorite things. So big thanks for that. Okay, we got two from good old Light Studios. Sendu, my man. He wrote, this is what he wrote, yo. I just purchased a PS TV for $30 from a pawn shop. They aren't much if you know where to look. Wow. $30, my man. Play with it. Tell me how it is. Did you get anything running on it? Can you get it connected to your PSN account? I got some PS1 games. I'd love to have one of those. Did you ever find another one for $30? You ever find another one? But that's awesome that you found that, man. I would love to hear how it actually plays. He also writes, I love Terraria. Can I play with you guys sometime? That would be awesome. Absolutely. I think when we recorded for the the Monstercast, you, me, and Hemrock, I definitely think we had something going. I think we should get the three of us back together again. And if it's to play Terraria, then by golly, I'm down. Besides, somebody needs to show Hemrock like where that game really shines, and that's in the multiplayer. So I think that would be a lot of fun. I would be down just to hang out the three of us, you know. Which reminds me, since this is a comment left on an old episode, I better reply to this in text so that you hear it in a timely manner. But that's awesome. And you know what, everybody? That's the fail bag. And we're at exactly 1 hour. 1 hour and 30 seconds. So with that, everybody, you know what time it is. Time to face the day. Time to get your tie on, get your toolbox together, get your book bag, get on the bus, whatever it is you gotta do. And as you march forward towards your day, wherever it is that, let's face it, I know you don't want to be, I would just encourage you to just keep going and just keep doing what it is you gotta do. Summon the fortitude to smash right through it. Oh yeah! Like the Kool-Aid Man! Because I'm rooting for you. Have a happy President's Day, everybody. I'll see you next week.